Hey everybody, welcome to our next Bible Bite here. We're going to be in Ecclesiastes 4, talking about Solomon and his search for meaning in life. And so we have in the past, looked into the past couple chapters, 1 through 3, we see that Solomon has this despair about him because he's got this, I'm going to call it an under the sun mentality, where he's just looking at things from a purely objective standpoint of basically your birth, your life, and then your death. And this is everything that you can contribute to the world. And so he sees this a span of human existence. And what he sees is that no matter what you do in life, death is always there. And because death is always there, what happens is everything else erodes. So whether it's you leave an heir, and then he talks about how sometimes you can leave an heir and the heir is foolish. Right? They're a fool, so they don't carry on the legacy that you have built. Sometimes they don't have the wealth that you have, or they spend it frivolously. He sees oppression, and he sees injustice. He sees all these things in life, and so he comes to the conclusion with this under the sun mentality. Life is meaningless. That there's nothing that holds any sway. You know, he spends years pursuing happiness, pursuing acts of the flesh, whether that be gluttony or lust or some kind of perversion. And he talks about all these things. So we come into Ecclesiastes 4. So let's read that here. Again, I looked and saw all the oppression that was taking place under the sun. I saw the tears of the oppressed, and they have no comforter. Power was on the side of the oppressors, and they have no comforter. And I declared that the dead who had already died are happier than the living who are still alive. But better than both is the one who has never been born, who has not seen the evil that is done under the sun. And I saw that all toil and all achievement spring from one person's envy of another. To this too is meaningless, a chasing after the wind. Fools fold their hands and ruin themselves. Better one handful with tranquility than two handfuls with toil and chasing after the wind. Again, I saw something meaningless under the sun. There was a man all alone. He had neither son nor brother. There was no end to his toil. Yet his eyes were not content with his wealth. For whom am I toiling, he asked, and why am I depriving myself of enjoyment? This too is meaningless, a miserable business. Two are better than one, because they have a good return for their labor. If either of them falls down, one can help the other up. But pity anyone who falls and has no one to help them up. Also, if two lie down together, they will keep warm. But how can one keep warm alone? Though one may be overpowered, two can defend themselves. A cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken. Better a poor but wise youth than an old but foolish king who no longer knows how to heed a warning. The youth may have come from prison to the kingship, or he may have been born in poverty within his kingdom. I saw that all who lived and walked under the sun followed the youth, the king's successor. There was no end to all the people who were before him. But those who came later were not pleased with the successor. This too is meaningless, a chasing after the wind. So we see here with Solomon is he comes to, at this point, I think he's come to the depths of his despair, right? He says that it's better to be, he doesn't say it's almost, he says it's better to not be born at all than to actually have existence on this earth. And that kind of despair and depression, I think this is the conclusion that a lot of those who suffer from suicidal thoughts come to, is this hopelessness, that it's better to not live at all than to actually bear the meaninglessness of the world. So we can see that Solomon just has this utter despair in his heart because he has nothing to live for. It is hopelessness. He talks about oppression and how he saw that the oppressors, this kind of, he's talking about this injustice and things, and it's odd to me because Solomon is the greatest king to ever live, right? He has this immense wealth. He has this incredible wisdom. But when he looks upon oppressors, he lets them oppress. And so I wonder if this too is part of his meaningless, this under the sun mentality. Or did he actually take an effort to actually go and try to help people? Because I often find that living for other people, serving one another, this is what Jesus preached often, helps bring meaning to life. And so I wonder if he missed this, or maybe this was something that he did, but just a different thought to have while we're going through this. And then he talks about loneliness, how he found a man who didn't have a brother or didn't have a son, and how the loneliness really encapsulates this man. And he talks about the value of friendship. And earlier in one of my videos, I had mentioned that Ecclesiastes was one of the books that helped bring me into my Christian faith. And it's actually this particular scripture here that really stuck with me so much, is that this thing on friendship and togetherness, right? The cord of 3 strands is not easily broken. I saw so much truth in what Solomon is saying here, is that when one falls down, the other can pick him back up. And so this is one of the reasons why I always strive for unity within our church. I always strive for this friendship in our church, is because I see the truth in this scripture, is that 2 are much better than 1. I think the Bible tries to get us to this conclusion, that we are just better together. Human beings are not meant to ever be alone. And loneliness is just a devastating thing for people. And then finally he closes out his book again, and this chapter again, and he comes back to this meaningless existence, right? He talks about a young ruler that comes up from poverty, and he just, even his life, his existence, even if he has all these followers or his kingdom is mighty, it's still meaningless because everything dies. And so when you have this under the sun mentality, it's very easy to get bogged down in the idea of that nothing really matters. And so I have on my side here, I have that eternity is hope, because it really is. See, if life is only your birth, your existence, and then your death, then yes, things are meaningless because things will crumble, everything will die. But if there's life beyond death, if there is eternity, I'm just speaking metaphorically here because there is eternity, it is real. If that is, then what happens here on life does matter. The things that you do matter so much. And Solomon is going to get to this point, I promise you. But unfortunately, we're going to have to go through many more chapters of him speaking this wisdom of the under the sun mentality as meaningless. But we will get there. You guys will see it. I promise you. And so I just want to leave you with this thought: is what is your hope? I want to kind of ask you that question. So eternity is hope is definitely a very spiritual thought. But I think that we can even see through Solomon's texts, we can even see through that there are some things that he does enjoy in terms of life. I mean, we just saw today about like this friendship, this togetherness, how much better that is than loneliness. And in chapter 3, right, there's a time for everything under the sun. There's a time for joy. There's a time for coming together and fellowship and fun. And so there are bright spots within this thing. And so I just want to kind of ask you, what is your hope? What is the thing that really like opens your heart up? So I hope to see you guys next time. We'll be in Ecclesiastes 5. Some good stuff. There's 12 chapters for us to get through here. Again, you guys have a blessed day, and I'll see you next time.